Yes, sir.
Regarding the gentleman's comment, Reagan did raise 11 taxes over the course of his service. The answer is, so what? The overall taxation level dropped, creating more revenue for government and over 20 million jobs.
He dropped the marginal rate from 7,
The overall rate of taxation in the private sector was down.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you raise 11 taxes and drop the other taxes. So
The key
he's not characterizing the situation.
No, yeah, and the key is, and economists will tell you this, if you want to have an impact, the key is to cut the marginal rate, the marginal tax rate, and make it as permanent as you can make it. If you cut people's taxes by 6 months or a year, you're not going to spur activity, because businessmen, that's still going to lead to uncertainty. Businessmen and women know that in another 6 months or a year, you may raise that rate again. People out here want certainty, and Washington hasn't been giving them that. It's so crazy. Here's the other thing that drives me bonkers. People in Washington think they're the smartest people in the world. People in Washington don't know the first thing about how to create jobs. It's why I tend to talk to businessmen and women a lot, small businessmen and women. They know a lot more about how to create jobs than we do. And it's pretty obvious when you talk to them what they want. Cut my taxes, give me permanent relief. You've got regulations on top of me. Get rid of these regulations, and doggone it, do something about all that debt in Washington. Because they're smart. They know if you want to tax your way out of this debt, there aren't enough millionaires and billionaires in this country to do anything. If you want to tax your way out of the debt, everybody's taxes are going up. Yes, sir.
Mr. Walsh, I just wanted to make 2 comments.
Yes, sir.
I'm a senior citizen.
Bless you.
Medicare and Social Security, when you're working, they take that out of your paycheck. So when I'm retired now, and everybody else that's that age, you get a check not because the government gave it to you, it's because you contributed to that.
You're right.
Yes. The other thing I want to say, when you mentioned the lame duck session, we had that in the state of Illinois 2 years ago. And what happened?
Well,
they passed 3 things that would never have passed in the Illinois Assembly. They raised the state income tax, they abolished the death penalty, and they enacted Senate Bill 7, which allows all these teachers and administrators and everything to be graded, and within 2 years they can be terminated employment. That's what happens when you have a lame duck session.
Very little good comes out of a lame duck session.
Absolutely.
To your point on Medicare and Social Security, look, understand something, guys. The only plan right now in Washington, and you may disagree with it, but there's only one plan to try to save Medicare, and it's the Republican plan. And even that plan says if you're 55 or older, nothing changes. But here's the issue. You did pay into Medicare your whole working life. But right now, the average person right now on Medicare will get back 3.5 times in health care what they paid into it during their working years. 3.5 times what they paid in. And that differential is only growing every year. And you have 10,000 Americans retiring every day. This is simple math. To deny the fact that we need to change this, or it's just not sustainable, you're living in la-la land. It's just not responsible to say don't do anything. There is an answer though. If you don't want to do anything to Medicare or any of these programs, then what you have to acknowledge right now is 20, 24 years from now, my oldest son is 25 years old. 20 years from now, when he's 45 years old, and hopefully he's out there making a pretty decent dollar, I have to look him in the face right now and tell him 80, 90% of what you make, you are going to pay to taxes to support the bills we didn't pay right now. Now, I don't think there's anybody here that wants to do that. But that's the only way you can sustain these programs. If you're not going to want to reform them, you are going to consign future generations to basically giving every dollar they make to government to support this stuff. We don't do that, not in this country, we don't allow that to happen.
Mr. Walsh,
Nobody wants to do that.
one of the reasons I think everybody supports Medicare, and I've had it, and anybody else who receives the benefits, they pick up just about all the bills. I mean, this is fantastic. Like you're saying, we're in a smaller group. I was born in 1942.
Right.
So that's the whole difference. Now we've got so many people coming on board, that pool of money is just being gobbled up.
Yep.
But Medicare has been a good program. I don't mean to say that it hasn't been.
And we want it around for the next 2 or 3 generations. And right now, if we don't do anything to it, it won't be around. So to me, it's really easy just to be a politician and say, there goes Joe Walsh, he's going after your Medicare. I just think it's irresponsible to do that kind of thing now.
Mr. Walsh, how would you fix it? How
Yes,
would you
ma'am.
fix it? Something
Yes,
to it.
ma'am.
Well, I'm embarrassed to say that I've just turned 55, and I have been one of those people who've been asleep all these years. And, you know, now I'm just at the infant stages of learning all this stuff, but here's a picture of me being retired. Because I don't think I'm ever going to retire. You know, I'm going to have to work till the day I die. And, you know, if you're a high school educator, I believe that the children, young adults now, don't believe that their vote counts. We have to get these kids out and vote. That's what, you know, we have 9 children between us, and they all say the same thing. Oh, I'm not going to vote, it doesn't matter. Yes, it does.
It does, and especially right now, I wish young people understood this. When you're young, you don't typically think about these things. I wish that we could explain to them that the decisions we're making right now are going to impact their lives forever.
Right.
That if we don't begin to pay our bills right now, we're putting it on them. I mean, I love this. Every day in this country, your government goes to its bank. And every day your government goes to its banker and it borrows $4 billion. Not spends, it spends more than that. But every day your government goes to its banker and it asks its banker for a $4 billion loan. And at the bottom of that form, when the banker says, Mr. Government, and the repayment terms, how are you going to repay this loan? The government says, don't worry about that. My kids and my grandkids will pay it off in 15 to 20 to 25 years. Don't worry about that. And then the government signs on the dotted line, and the government borrows $4 billion and leaves. And then the sun comes up the next morning, and the government goes back to its banker and says, I need to borrow another $4 billion. How are you going to repay that? Oh, don't worry. Put that on my kids' tab. Put that on my grandkids' tab. This is what your federal government is doing every single day right now. And is there anybody in this restaurant that would go to their local banker, borrow a couple $100,000 and say, my kids will pay that back in 24 years. Put that on my kids' tab.
Yeah.
Is there anybody that would do that? That's what we as a country are doing. Shame on us. And it's too easy to say, don't touch mine, don't worry, don't worry. It's too easy to say that, that's wrong. Every day your government goes to its banker and says, you need another $4 billion. My kids will pay for it. 23 years. Haven't paid off in 23 years.
How would you fix it,
Craziness.
Mr. Walsh? Again, I've asked you 3 times how you would fix Medicare.
Here's how I
What do you think
think.
you would fix Medicare?
Here's the direction we need to go with Medicare. And again, 55 or older, nothing changes. For people younger than 55, and maybe 55 is not the right number, but for a certain number, for a younger generation, when they're beginning to retire, we have to figure out a way to put them more in charge of the costs of their health care when they retire, and especially more in control of shopping around to find quality health care at a reasonable cost. Right now, we don't do that with Medicare. Right now, you retire, it's a guaranteed benefit. You need anything, it's paid for, no questions asked. You don't need to shop, you don't need to question. That's not sustainable anymore. So when you retire, we need to present retirees with options, a number of different options, so they can shop for the best quality at whatever price they can find, and that competition will help drive down the costs. It's what we do right now with our drug prescription program, Part D. It's what we do in a sense with Medicare Advantage. Seniors are given the ability to shop around for more cost-effective insurance, and that competition has dramatically decreased the increase in cost when it comes to Medicare Advantage and Part D. Somehow we need to get back to that, and the only way to do it is to give seniors more choices when they retire. Again, future generations, and that competition will help drive down the cost.
Are you talking about a voucher?
I'm talking about a voucher
That's what's in
premium.
here.
I'm talking about, you can call it a voucher, you can call it premium support, whatever you want to call it. Here's what I call it. For future generations, the only way the program's going to be sustained is if seniors, when they retire, are given more responsibility to go out and shop for more cost-effective health care.
How would a senior
But do me a favor, do me a favor.
How would a
do me a
senior
favor,
for
do me a
cancer
favor,
shop for
do me
that?
a
Please
favor,
answer that.
Do me a favor, do me a favor.
My
Stop.
parents, how could a senior, how could a senior do that?
Get out of here.
It's okay, it's okay. No. Hey, look.
Well, let him
It's
answer the
okay,
question.
it's okay, it's okay. What else,
I
guys?
just wanted to shift gears a
What
little
else?
bit.
Someone with cancer gonna buy a
What
voucher.
else?
How's someone with
Are
cancer
you
gonna
in
get
favor of
the
term
voucher?
limits? It seems like many of the members of Congress have been there 20, 30, 40 years.
It's just not fair.
You asked about term limits?
Yeah, we see that the people in Congress that seem to be blocking, both parties have been there so long.
Hey, wait a
They
minute.
think it's a lifetime job.
It's so annoying, because I've got folks that are older, that are just, if they have cancer, your voucher will not work.
I was gonna try to engage him, but I won't. I really support term limits. I limited myself to no more than 6 years. I introduced a bill last year calling for term limits. I couldn't find many of my colleagues to sign on to that bill. I believe it's a big problem. Republicans and Democrats both stay there too long.
And they're there for a couple of years and then they're millionaires and they just vote for the way the special interests give them money and the average guy.
They tend to stay there too long, they tend to enrich themselves, they don't listen to us. When they get out of office, they're better off than when they came in.
Absolutely.
It's crazy. So the only way I know of is we gotta just slowly kick them out. Term limits are a good idea.
How do we lower the cost of what hospitals are charging? How do I give you an example? I had an aorta bypass for my kidneys, down into my legs 8 weeks ago. I got a hospital bill that said Medicare paid $54,000. That ain't bad. Except I look at it, it was the week before when I was in there overnight. The charge for being there overnight was $54,000. Granted, I went into the emergency room. They put me in 3 different operating rooms trying to figure out how to get it in my veins, and I couldn't, and sent me home the next day. Following week, I had the bypass surgery. But $54,000, and that's just the hospital cost.
That was one night?
Not the anesthesiologist, right, overnight, not the anesthesiologist, and I realize the Delmers, they gotta pay for the new building, but,
Big building.
I mean, I just can't understand. And I'll tell you something, I never thought I'd be here at my age, to where we never get old. I really think about it. And I'm not lying, in 3.5 years, I've had 18 surgical procedures, and back juice, and I'm like a robot almost. And I'm here, and I'm happy, I've got grandkids. But I look at these bills when they come in, I mean, just hundreds, I'm getting my share of your people's money, but it's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Let me ask everybody a broader question. We all sort of agree on the problem. What should be done? What should be done, guys? I mean, if I put you all in Washington next week and I ask you to fix this stuff, what should be done?
I would have people,
Hold on, go.
okay, I would say the government could do a better job finding the fraud, waste, and abuse, and they're talking about Medicare. They're always arresting these doctors who are turning in bills for millions of dollars over 2 or 3 years. They never perform the surgery.
Major fraud and abuse in Medicare, like all government programs, maybe a couple $1 billion a year. Big deal, should be gone after. What
Cut out
else?
the foreign aid to these countries that are trying to burn our flag, shoot our soldiers, and cause general problems in the world.
Your country is broke right now.